Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Tuesday night, and that means it's time for Champions of the Future's World Touring Car Championship here on RaceSpotTV. Will Vincent along with Dan Blake. Here we are. That pace car in just one moment's time will head itself down and towards pit road for the start of race number one. That qualifying grid is coming up on your screen. There you can see it. Ben Palmer from Pete Newman, row number one. Ashley Sutton, Alex Bristow in row two. Baker Hall in row three. Fag and Shanovich in row number four. Bud and Blake Hall in the fifth row with Smith and Laidler in row six. Coletti, Hamilton, Burke and Stevens running out your 16 car field here today. But there you can see the view towards the front of your field as that team of drivers will now head itself down on the exit of the famous, wonderful Parabolica. Here you can see then the pace car heading itself on towards pit road. We are ready for 20 minutes worth of racing in race number one. Those caution lights are out. We go green here at Monza as those cars all storm down in towards turn number one. For the first time in this race, a little bit of two-wide racing. Pete Newman car versus the CQR car. Down in towards turn number one. That'll be Sutton moving himself ahead there of Pete Newman. As you can see, a little bit of two-wide racing, a little bit of bumping there. That's the CQR car here. That is David Baker, I believe, battling it out with Alex Bristow. Michael Hall there involved in the mix as well. There's a Hall actually driver who got himself sideways on the run through Curva Grande in lap number one. Corner number one, of course, Hall driving at number one CQR car, but behind him, drivers funneling themselves now down into that second chicane. There we can see then a look at this field as they come into that. That's the incident that we had in 2000, of course, which cost the life of a driver's marshal. But we've got two-wide racing. That is between Alex Bristow and Paul Smith down as they head themselves down into Lesmo. Number one, and a little bit of contact there. 99 car of Bristow pushed up into the air and a little bit wide.
The car safely through turn one, which is good to see, but Alex Bristow under a bit of pressure from the car behind him, which is, have a look at that, that is Mars Coletti. So also behind them, Jake Blackwell, who missed last week's race because he forgot his alarm, so he obviously said it this time.
Yeah, there you can see the Aussie driver is down in the mid-pack of your field right now. Now, the thing is about this racetrack, it's Monza. It's beautiful. It's got three very distinct chicanes, however. It's got chicane number one, the Variante del Rettifilo, then Variante della Roggia, which is chicane number two, and then the Variante Oscari, which they've just worked themselves through now. Now, they come to one of the most famous corners in all of Grand Prix racing. You can see two wide in the battle for the race lead. Sutton, down to the inside there of Ben Palmer. He will take that lead away for the time being, but no, they'll be side by side on the exit of the corners. We're right ourselves on board there with Ashley Sutton pushing wide of the exit on the parabolic, but now we're looking for the inside line, the run down in towards the Variante de Rettifilo as they work themselves down in towards that first chicane. You can see they're going to go three wide almost. Aerial coverage today brought to you by And One Design. Down towards that first chicane, it will be the number 16 TQR car taking that race lead away, but as they go behind the trees there, Dan.
Good move there from Ashley Sutton past Ben Palmer. He had to be a bit careful there because David Baker was trying to find a way through as well. But further back, there was a fantastic battle, and it looks like there's been some incident on track as Jake Blackwell now into the pits with substantial damage. Yeah,
let's have a look then. There you can see the Aussie driver of Blackwell. He's getting himself some repairs. We'll try and figure out what happened to him in a moment's time or so. You can see down the rear of the field as well, Magic Sajovic. He's had himself a bit of a slow start to this race. He's lost himself a couple of positions in the last 20-30 seconds or so. There you can see as well a car. Oh, that's one of the Pete Newman cars, I think, there. Maybe just getting involved in an issue. Down to the rear of the field, actually, goes Matthew Bunn, and that's not what you want to have at a track here like Monza. And I do think that Matthew Bunn, yeah, he's got some serious issues right now. It's that number 11 car down all the way to the rear of the field, and he is struggling with some suspension damage.
A lot of damage there for Matthew Bunn. What happened to Jake Blackwell was Ellis Stevens very hard into the side of him on the entry of the Parabolica. It seemed that Blackwell maybe went a little bit wide and Stevens straight into the back end of that back quarter of that car, causing all sorts of problems. And Matthew Bunn, another one who'll be limping into the pits very shortly.
Well, we'll get ourselves a look then, if we can. And there we can see the back end of that incident. We can see Jake Blackwell. This is on the run down to the Parabolica. You can see the rear end of that. We'll see if we can just try. Well, we'll get that one after the race. We'll bookmark that. We'll come back to you at the end of the race. But Blackwell, unfortunately, is classified as well down the field. He is classified as still on the lead lap, I think, Dan. And, of course, that is important as far as that reverse grid goes. If he stays on the lead lap, it's going to be a slow, lonely time for him for the time being. But if he can stay on the lead lap, then he will have the opportunity to get himself to the front of the field for race number 2.
The good thing for Jake Blackhall was it happened later on in the lap, so he wasn't far from the pits. He's had a repair from his team and now back out, not too far behind the back of the field. Matthew Bunn, as I said, now into the pits, but the rest of the field just across the start-finish line. So Jake Blackhall, although he'll be 16th, looks for 15th maybe with Matthew Bunn, he is going to stay on that lead lap, I imagine.
Yeah, there's a look then, down over the trees, down towards your battle for the race lead, and you can see it's Sutton versus Ben Palmer right now. The gap between those two drivers is about a third of a second as they come down into the Variante della Roggia, the second chicane. Raul, but Palmer there is going to run wide. That's going to allow it to be a 2 wide, almost 3 wide situation as they work themselves down in towards that second chicane. That's going to allow their Baker to look down to the inside. He will get past that Pete Newman car of Pete Newman right behind there as well. And that's Bunty's 4 drivers up now, so within half a second of each other. But what it's done also, Dan, is it's meant that one driver, that is the one of Ashley Sutton, is being able to pull away, because now Palmer under threat from Newman on the run down to the Variante Ascari.
No, a great lap for Ben Palmer down to the Ascari, as you say, and Pete Newman on the outside. Ben Palmer should have the advantage on the inside, but it allows Ashley Sutton and now David Baker the chance to pull away, because while they're fighting, it means that Baker is able to, well, he's not got anything to worry about really, they're fighting each other, and the top 5 split out from the rest of that field, and see, oh, big crash behind involving Robert Fagg and a Pete Newman car.
Mars Coletti, there we can see Coletti, we get ourselves a look at that one, there you can see Coletti in the 226 car, you can see Robert Fagg involved in that one as well, 2 drivers. And technically, these 2 drivers are technically teammates there. So Coletti and Fagg involved in an incident. And that is down at the Variante Ascari. We're going to get ourselves a look at this one. I think we're going to hit this one right on the head here as we come to this one. You can see the 2 drivers side by side run down in towards the Variante Ascari as they come down. Well, Dan, it's a case of 2 cars doesn't always go into one.
Definitely not in that circumstance. It looked like Mars Coletti leaned over there onto the car of Robert Fagg. So Robert Fagg out the rest. I said Pete Newman car. I didn't a bit like it, but it wasn't a Pete Newman car, so my mistake there. But nonetheless, Fagg and Coletti not in a good position. But someone like Jake Blackhall and Matthew Bunn further down, it's good for them because it means they can gain a couple more places.
Well, yeah, and also what it will mean is if they can't get themselves back onto the lead lap, people like Blackhall will have another person classified as 1 lap down, so they'll be more likely. People with CQR cars, of course, are so strong in race number 2, especially that strategy, and especially the way they set their cars up. But what it will mean is it's another driver that Blackhall doesn't have to deal with on this inverse grid. There you can see Blackhall, he is currently classified not as a last driver on the lead lap. There you can see Fagg, number 28 car, he's coming out of pit road as we speak. So Robert Fagg in the number 28 machine, he will be classified as the last driver on the lead lap behind Matthew Bunn and then Blackhall. Well, Mars Coletti, that one does look turbulent on pit road. There you can see him. That car's pulling out all forms of smoke. I do not think he'll get himself back out onto the racetrack. Sutton versus Baker's back down to 2 tenths of a second. As we have a look from the rear then of that driver of Ashley Sutton out of the Variante Ascari down this back straightaway down towards the Carava Parabolica, turn number 11. And Sutton right now is under pressure, but he's managing that gap in my opinion. Baker can go past and that'll be okay, but I think Sutton's got enough in the tank right now.
Baker's caught up to Sutton because he pulled away a little bit, and that 5-car chain starting to form again. Sutton a little bit wide there though into that parabolic, but he manages to save it. And I think the run of Baker's been a bit compromised. Now Ben Palmer going down the inside as they come to complete the 4th lap. Yeah,
that's right, ourselves along board if we can with that driver there of Ben Palmer. You can see if we tilt that camera to the left-hand side, there is the number 24 car there of David Baker. He will get that slipstream in towards turn 1. To give you an update, Coletti is classified as 1 lap down, so he'll have to work to get himself back onto the lead lap as Palmer missing a shift there, as he now has to go a little bit wide on the exit of the first chicane. Now through the Curve Grande they come down towards the Variante della Roggia once again. You see Palmer trying to get himself that outside line for Curve Grande. That will set him up to the inside as they come down into that second chicane, but Palmer just can't get the run. Now he'll have to sweep, but the thing is that Baker trying to do exactly the same thing there, and he might have been able to push Baker off the racetrack and pass himself at the same time, but Palmer in 3rd place, but Baker to the race lead over Ashley Sutton. Sutton not giving up as they come side by side in towards Lesman number 1. No, Sutton will stay in line for just the moment here.
Ben Palmer had a great run coming out the first corner. He missed the gear, but was able to recover. As I'm going through Lesmo 2 now, it's Baker in the lead. That's in the second. Ben Palmer third. Ashley Sutton needs to know the curb there, but it's pulled him a bit closer to David Baker. Pete Newman in fourth, and then in fifth place, Michael Hall. And also another driver who's been a bit quiet, but has rested later, but now up to sixth place from 12th on the grid.
And here comes Baker versus Sutton once again. They're going to be side by side, so they work themselves down in towards the Variante Ascari. One more time, back down to the inside and back past. Will go Sutton. A little bit loose there on the Astro curve as they work themselves on the exit of the corner. But what this does mean as well is that Barmer now has a chance to work himself past Baker once again. These top four drivers currently separated by 0.3 of a second as they head themselves down in towards that final corner. One more time, we run on board with a driver at the rear, Pete Newman, in the Pete Newman number 58 car. You can see they're going too wide ahead of him. It will be Baker from Sutton, from Palmer, from Newman, but anything can happen. 10 minutes of this race will be score complete as they come down in towards the Curve of Grande. And Dan, anything can happen in this motor race. There's one driver suffering right now. That is the driver of Rusty Laidler in P number 6, who is right now just about 7 seconds off of this lead battle.
It's like Interlagos all over again here at the front. We saw great racing last week, and they seem to want to do all over again. Palmer up to second place now, so Baker is in the lead. It's Palmer second, Ashley Sutton in third. So Ashley Sutton was leading not very long ago, now pushed down to third place.
Well, there you can see Michael Hall just getting himself past Pete Newman. What happened is that Sutton got past Sutton got passed by Ben Palmer. Sutton then pushed wide into that Pete Newman car, and then Michael Hall worked himself past as well. So Hall now up into fourth place. Actually, that one worked out in a team perspective, moving that Pete Newman car down towards P number 5. Oh, driver taken off there. That's going to be David Baker down at the second chicane, the Variante de la Roggia, and that is one of your drivers who were thinking about getting himself towards the win. David Baker classified now in P number 5, and some damage to boot there, Dan.
Yeah, what happened there was that Ben Palmer and Baker were fighting. Palmer was on the outside, and they couldn't quite get around the corner, and the loss of momentum from Baker was what made Sutton go into the back of Baker there. So unfortunate for those two drivers involved in that incident, but it looks like Ashley Sutton now back into second place. Ben Palmer's first, but he has a bit of damage, it looks like, to the front of that car. But a great run there from Sutton, taps the back of Ben Palmer. Palmer does well to keep hold of it, but that's going to give Sutton the advantage going, but he's on the outside at the moment.
Yeah, there we can see they're going to go two, they're going to go three wide to work themselves now down and towards the Curve of Parabolica once again. They can see behind the haze as they come down into that corner right now. It is three drivers pretty much nose to tail, neck and neck as they work themselves into Parabolica, and it will be the number 16 car of Ashley Sutton who will get out ahead from Palmer. He'll have the inside line on the exit of this corner, but you can see Michael Hall trying to do everything he can to move himself down to the inside as they work themselves on the exit of that corner. So side by side line, Sutton has it by just millimeters there over the driver of Ben Palmer, but they can see the two CQR cars, the work CQR cars there, pushing each other, thinking about going three wide in towards the Variante de Rettifilio, turn number 1, and that meant that Palmer gets the run. He moves himself past, and that was really two CQR cars thinking, well, no, that's not going to work. But the important thing is, Dan, look at the driver fifth in line. That is Mars Coletti. What he wants to do right now is get himself past the driver of Pete Newman. If he can do that, he can work himself past the other CQR cars, because he's not going to gain a place, but team orders will say, you know, give him some room. Let him go ahead.
Depending on the pace of Coletti, will they really want to do that? Miles, if he gets in front of these, is going to have to some gravel being kicked up and a slowdown for Miles Coletti. So that sort of scappers that. But Rusty Laidler, not too far behind Baker, a couple of seconds maybe there for the gap there. But we're talking about Coletti, and unfortunately that slowdown, I think, has scuppered his chance maybe of getting back on the lead laps. He's dropped off, but Ashley Sutton all across the gravel now trying to get past the car of Ben Palmer. Palmer is defending well on the inside. Sutton will go to the outside. Michael Hall with a watching brief for Pete Newman at the moment. Well, there you can see these drivers two wires ahead themselves underneath the Bremco bridge in towards the Variante Ascari. Turn number 8, 9, 10. You can see the number 3 car, Palmer, squeezed into that corner. That allows Sutton to move himself back to the race lead on the exit of the corner. Right now, Sutton on board now with Palmer on the exit of that corner. He's going all the way to the grass, just like Ryan Hunter-Reay thinks about doing the dummy at the last moment. We look from up above then in the flag stands, but there you can see Palmer on the outside line, Sutton on the inside line. That was mighty close to Ryan Hunter-Reay versus Elio Castroneves just 1 year ago at the Indy 500. But now
Palmer needs to get himself the momentum off the corner. I don't think you have. Sutton will have the inside line in towards the Variante del Rettifilio once again. But these top 3 drivers are breaking away now from Pete Newman in that Pete Newman racing car.
I'm going to go 3 wide down towards turn number 1. And oh, Palmer onto the grass, has hit Michael Hall. Sutton goes across the escape road as well. Big drama here. And Sutton's going to have a bit of a slowdown. Did Pete Newman go off as well? And what this is going to allow, I think, is Russell Laidler is going to be rubbing his hands with glee at this, because he's moved himself up right now to the leading pack.
And this driver, Pete Newman, moves himself to the head of the field. So Pete Newman leads this motor race actually by 1.1 seconds. We're going to get ourselves a replay of this one down in towards turn 1. We'll slow it all the way down for you. You notice first, the white line is caught there by the driver on the right-hand side. That is the driver of Ben Palmer, who catches the number 1 car there of Michael Hall. At that point, Sutton, blindsided by his mirrors, doesn't know what's going on there, and he then takes the escape road, possibly thinking that a car's going to come around him. But now, Sutton has lost the position, Hall's lost the position, and also Ben Palmer's lost the position. It's currently Pete Newman in the lead of this motor race as we kick down to 5 minutes to go. The gap between himself and Sutton, 1.2 seconds. Dan, a calamity of errors there. That could have been a Shakespeare play for the CQR team.
Very unfortunate. It almost seemed like the 3 of them, they were 3 wide, and they're playing a game of chicken to see who would break first. And unfortunately, Ben Palmer with one wheel onto the white line, then the grass, and then just as we saw, it caused the other 2 CQR cars. Michael Hall got clouted, and actually started going across the escape road. But at the moment, Pete Newman leads, and with 5 minutes to go, I don't think we can say this is done, because I think we've still got a long way to go, because those drivers will be keen to catch up and to resume the fight.
One driver suffering though is that number 6 car of Ben Palmer. At one point in this race, he was leading on the exit, and he's coming onto pit road. Down, this is catastrophic for him. He will get himself a replay, a repair even, but this is going to hurt his chances in race number 1. He needs the points in race number 1. He cannot rely on that inverse grid for race number 2.
Unfortunately not, but for Ben Palmer being at the front end of race 2 will maximise maybe his chances of a good result there. Not the race 1 that Ben Palmer would have wanted, but that is the silver lining. So if he stays on the lead lap, he may be in contention for a decent race 2 start.
Here comes Sutton, looking down to the inside into the Variante del Roggia. Here he comes then. Sutton looking to go back to the race lead over the Pete Newman car, side by side into the second chicane. Herb copping there. Here's the Pete Newman car. Sutton still putting that pressure on as they come down into Lesmo number 1. They're going to go almost 3 wide there. Look who's back into the mix as well. David Baker, you talked about it a moment ago. Baker in that number 11 car, now back into P number 3, battling it out, and well, Sutton will go around the outside, but we ran ourselves on board with Baker. He's past Newman. Now Baker takes the charge to Sutton on the run down to the Variante Ascari.
Down to the Variante Ascari, Russell Laidler also having a piece of this action. We've got a 5-car battle, but there is a substitution as such. Palmer's out, and then comes Laidler. Sutton squirming on the brakes, but he stays ahead of David Baker. Got Michael Hall in 3rd, so although he took a sizable clout there from Palmer, it doesn't seem to have done too much damage at all. But Pete Newman was at the lead at the start of his lap. Now he's dropped down to 4th place.
It's crazy how quickly this is all changing. We've got ourselves about 2.5 laps to go here. Maybe 2 laps to go here at this wonderful racetrack known as Monza. You can see Baker looking down to the inside on the run down into the parabolic and not able to do anything as they work themselves out of the corner down towards the start finish line. Once again, we now ride ourselves on board with that driver of Baker hounding for the race lead. Do you do it now, Dan, or do you do it on the next lap? Baker's thinking, I want to do it now, thank you very much.
Of course, what you got to remember, Will, was that the start line is actually further up the straight, so they've got to try and make the move before the start-finish line, in my opinion, with the straight being so short. Sutton and Baker there compromising each other. Michael Hall will go round the outside, and Ashley Sutton now down into 5th place, so this race changes dynamic once again.
Yeah, there's a look from David Baker. They can see he now leads this race, but Ashley Sutton in the space of just 1 corner has now fallen down in towards P number 5. Quick little replay then coming up for you whilst you have the opportunity. Our aerial coverage today is brought to you by And1 Design. We're going to try and zoom it all the way in then down into that first corner. They can see the action. You can see Sutton on the inside. Baker making contact, pushing Sutton wide. He gets himself into that slow down situation, and from there losing himself a good number of positions. So Sutton now out of contention for the time being, but there is still 1 minute 36 seconds remaining on the play clock. That means there is a lap and a bit to go. And we have seen Sutton move up 3 places in the space of 1 lap. He's got himself a lap and a half to try and do that. And he's working himself right now alongside Rusty Laidler on the way down in towards the Variante Ascari. One more time. One more to go after this. Sutton is on a charge down to the inside. Well, that's Laidler riding on board with Laidler upsetting Sutton there, but Sutton gets past, and that's all that matters really for that CQR number 16 car. 2 drivers in 1 lap. Sutton can do this, Dan.
Sutton can do it. When you talk about upset drivers, I think one of those would be David Baker. Pete Newman used the bumper there earlier in the lap, and that's relegated David Baker right down. But now Pete Newman is going to be losing out the car on the inside of Michael Hall. Michael Hall is now on. Pete Newman is on the inside, Michael Hall on the outside. They're now going to start what looks to be the final lap, and delayed left there. Any of these 5 drivers I think can win at the moment, just because of the way this race has been so far, so unpredictable.
Look at the draft braking there. That could be catastrophic if you do it the wrong way round. Down in towards turn 1 they come. The white flag is out. 1 more lap to go at Monza. A little bit of a wiggle there for the number 1 TQR car. That's going to bunch his field up. Oh, Pete Newman turned around almost there. But that means that Sutton moves himself in towards P number 2. It's going to be Hall versus Sutton. Newman moving himself down into the 3rd position there as they work themselves through Curva Grande on the final lap of this motor race. There is not a clean car in your top 5 right now. It's Hall from Sutton, from Newman, from Baker as they head themselves now down towards this final lap of the race. You can see curb hopping through the Variante de la Rocha. Oh, and the Newman car's off. There's a Newman car. You got Laidler off there as well. That's on the entry down to the final chicane. We go back to look though. Hall versus Sutton. It's tete-a-tete versus the 2 CQR cars. Exit of Lesnar number 2. Michael Hall leads away, but Ashley Sutton heading himself down the back straight away. The gap is 0.4 of a second as they work themselves down into the Variante Ascari. Is there anything now that Ashley Sutton can do? He needs the perfect run through the Variante Ascari to put that pressure on Michael Hall on the run down to the Curva Parabolica. Here they come. Sutton, a great run, a great run. He'll look himself to the outside, but don't forget what Dan said a moment ago. That start line comes oh so early here at Monza. Side by side, CQR. Oh, Sutton spun around there. Oh, will go for the win. Sutton spun into the gravel, into the wall. Who will win this motor race? Baker will take 2nd place. And if you ever need to know that TQR teammates are rivals, that is your moment. Hall wins from Hamilton, from Newman, from Sutton, from Sashovich, and Dan. What an end to this race!
That is a controversial ending. Lots of contact to talk about in our final lap, but the 2 CQR teammates there. That's a Cardinal Cinema Motorsport taking out teammates, racing very close. But unfortunately, let's see what I'm going to replay now. See what happened. It looks like that Hall and Sutton both sort of went towards each other and came together in the middle. Earlier in the lap, we saw David Baker put a little bit of revenge on Pete Newman at the same corner where Baker and Newman had collided the previous lap, and Russell Laidler was the unfortunate victim, T-boning the side of the Newman car. But a fantastic race, and Keith Hamilton has come through from 14th on the grid to 3rd. I think that's his best finish in the Champions of the Future there.
Yeah, there you can see the rear end of the impact then when Ashley Sutton slammed it into the Armco barriers with just 1 corner left to go. Now, luckily, he didn't get himself wedged in that barrier. Otherwise, he would have been classified as out of the race. But you can notice that other drivers were just absolutely loving that. Look at the driver of Michael Hall. He took himself the race win. Dan, it's the cardinal sin, but touring cars, you have no friends. That is your first rule. Then it's never hit your teammate.
Touring car drivers are touring car drivers. Compared to the race last week at Interlagos, that was a rather bruising encounter, but as you said, Michael Hall taking victory, David Baker second, and David Baker and Pete Newman, a couple of coming together later there in the race, and one driver got for a little bit sorry for Russell Laidler getting caught in that little argument between Baker and Newman, and some drivers who didn't even feature in the race. We never spoke about Magic Sagowitz, he finished 5th, or Stephen Burke in 6th. And these drivers have come right up. And what it means for the reverse grid, though, Alex Bristow was the last car in the lead lap. And Mars Coletzi almost got 3 back to the lead lap with all that carnage as well.
Yeah, but he didn't, so therefore he will technically classified at the rear end of your field. But there's a look then. Super Slow Mo Replay brought to you by And One Design. And this is a run down in towards the Perva Barabonica. And there you can see, at the exact same moment, the two drivers just moved together. It's a bit like the Grand National, Dan. Two drivers just moving towards it. Two riders moving towards each other. Both whipping their horses in the Grand National. In this case, their car saying, come on car, come on car, come on car. Each trying to set themselves up for that final chicane. But Hall gets himself into the grass. It's a driver of Ashley Sutton getting spun around, and Sutton is the one who ends up the victim here as, well, Hall does claim this win, but Sutton, look at that, into the gravel, into the wall, and it's so easily could have been beached there, but he does come away with his top 5 after all anyways. He bounces out the tyre barriers and heads himself back to complete this race.
It just shows Ash Sutton's mentality there, really. He could have stayed back from Michael Hall and taken an easy second place at that time, obviously, with the cars behind quite a way back, but Sutton wanted to go for the win, and the risk versus reward hasn't worked out this time for Ashley Sutton, finishing in 7th place when he could have finished 2nd.
Well, let's get ourselves a look then at your race results from race number 1 of 2 here in the Champions of the Futures World Touring Car Championship. Michael Hall by 1.5 seconds claims victory over David E. Baker. Then look at the gap as it all went crazy behind. 9.4 seconds was Keith Hamilton in that 3rd position. Pete Newman in 4th. Magic Sajovic in 5th. Stephen Burke in 6th. And then Ashley Sutton all the way down in P number 7. His teammate, well, sorry, not his teammate, so Rusty Laidler in P8. Then Stevens in 9th. And then Paul Smith rounding out your top 10. There is a look at your other 6 drivers. Black Hall, the Aussie driver, he failed to get himself into the top 10, but he'll be close to the front in race number 2. Robert Fagg in 12th. Ben Palmer, arguably your odds-on favourite for race number 2 in 13th. Bud in 14th. Bristow 15th. 1 lap down, rear of your field is Miles Coletti. We will step aside for just one moment. It will be time for the RaceSpotTV Champions of the Futures WTCC mid-race show. After these messages, we will be back after this.
In the outside, contact made. 56 slides in at a 4. Who's going to be at the stripe? Dead even. Give it to Ryan Truex. Truex is your winner over Tandy.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Champions of the Futures World Touring Car Championship mid-race show here on RaceSpotTV. As well, Dan, to say that was a crazy finish here in race number 1 at the Autodrome in Monza will be a complete and utter understatement.
Definitely so. These drivers giving it their all. A lot of contact on that final lap. A lot different to what we saw last week at Interlagos. So Michael Hall coming away the winner. Keith Hamilton 3rd place when he was 6th, 7th at the beginning of the lap. So Keith Hamilton, big gain there. But as you say, Will, dramatic stuff at the final lap here at Monza.
Let's talk first of all to your race winner, Michael Hall. Congratulations on the win. It was a controversial win. What was it like from your perspective?
Yeah, it was a good race apart from the end. I just sat behind the first four and tried to stay out of trouble, saved my tyres and got involved in the last few laps. But me and Ash had a bit of a coming together on the last lap, obviously, as you saw. Yeah, not good.
You do claim the victory, you do get the points. But race number 2, you're starting from second from last. This is a track that you can draft at though, so how easy is it to move up through the field here compared to other venues that we've done so far?
Well, it's easy to pass people, but they can pass you straight back with the toe, so it's not actually that easy. If you've got the similar sort of pace as the people around you, they're going to just get straight back past you, so see what happens.
So, in other words, starts, restarts, going to be critically important. Are you expecting a restart here?
Yeah.
There we are. Michael Hall, not mincing his words, Ashley Starter was on the receiving end of that final lap for our car. Well, Ash, what happened?
It's just one of those things, wasn't it? It was up to that point, there was always going to be contact around here. The track's it's very, very narrow around here, so even when you go three wide, it's both the outside drivers are on the white lines. But no, it's just one of those things, we're teammates, we get on, so push it under the carpet and forget about it.
Well, hello. But race number 2, you're starting, of course, a little bit further up for the field, and we did see you get past 5 drivers in the space of a lap and a half. Does that bed you in good stead for race 2?
At the end of the day, anyone can overtake a certain amount of cars. With the slipstream around here, it's such an advantage. So you could be like 5th or 6th on that lap, and you could come out in the lead. So anyone's capable of doing it. It's just getting the slipstream lined up right.
Ashley Sutton coming home, as I say, down in the field for race number 2. I'll hand it over to the wonderful Dan Blake. He stood by with, I believe, Mars Galetti and also Ben Palmer.
Hi, Will. Yes, I'm here, Mars. Mars, not the best of days for you, finishing a lap down in 16th place. What happened to you in that race? Where did it go wrong for you?
Got Miles.
Looks like Miles' away, so we'll go over to Ben Palmer. Ben, also, not the best of races for you. You're battling at the front. Unfortunately, you had that little incident with yourself and Michael Hall, 13th place, but it does give you a good place for the second race.
Yeah, I was having a good race up until then, but yeah, I've managed to grab some more points and you know, a nice strong position for race 2.
We saw the incident. In what happened there, in your opinion?
Mike was just getting a bit close. I think he tried to give me a little kiss, but now I hit the grass, and you know, it was totally my fault. So yeah, sorry to Mike.
My your honesty there, Ben's 13th place for race 2, and the plan for you is obviously going to try and get as much space as you can between some of these faster guys when they come through.
Yeah, that's the aim. But you know, like Ash said, the towing round here is, you know, so much. You can go from 1st to, you know, 10th in, you know, one lap round here. So you know, we'll see.
And that's Ben Palmer. Good luck for the second race, Ben.
I do think it's interesting how some people are saying 1st to 6th, some people are saying 1st to 5th, some people are saying 1st to 10th there, Dan. No one really knows the effect of the draft at this place.
No, we've got some very long straights here, which we saw in that race. Provided some great entertainment. The first 5 or 6 were switching positions left, right, and centre. And as a couple of people have said, if you're at a similar pace, then that's the way the racing is going to be. It's certainly not going to be boring in this second race like the first race wasn't.
Oh yeah. Next up, of course, we've got ourselves a little bit of time to talk to Holy Balls and Tiger Woods. Hello, team.
Hello.
Hello. Paul Smith, how's it going?
Not too bad from a voice, but yeah, wasn't happy with that result. Got involved in a few incidents, so I need to clean up my act.
Well, yeah, your voice. We do apologise for your voice. It's not your fault, of course, but be number 10 overall. Do you think that being in the mid pack for race number 2 will give you an advantage?
No. I think there's going to be some chaos happen, and I'm right in the firing line here, so yeah, I've just got to keep my head down, keep clean, and hopefully with the pit stop, with a good strategy worked out, we can jump some people.
Well, good luck for race number 2. We've got ourselves Matthew Bunn as well. He fell outside of the top 10. Matthew, what happened?
Started off well. I think CQR Club, they've been in our garage again. They were tampering with the brakes on Paul's car. Yeah, a bit of tactics there going on, I think. So Paul shunted me up the arse and ended up coming second from last. Great.
Right. Race number 2, looking forward to it a little bit more because, of course, you will be starting, according to our official timing screens, in P number 2.
Yeah, looking forward to the next race. I've got some good pace in this track, so yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, if I don't get shunted up the backside again and coming in the first corner, should be alright.
I'll try my best.
No comment. We've got Lee Matkins here. We've also got ourselves Keith Hamilton here, I believe. Dan, take it away. Talk.
Okay, I'm going to talk now. We've got Keith Hamilton here. Keith, P3 finish. Didn't think you saw that coming at the start of the last lap, did you?
No, I was quite surprised I was running in 7th on the last lap, but obviously when them lads up front decided to take each other out, it's more gains for me.
Yeah, exactly. You got to be in a sort of position to take advantage. And apart from that, how was your race going? Didn't see much of you on screen. What was it like racing a bit further down?
Rather boring. I was just running my own little race, keeping out of trouble, making sure I got my lines right, and obviously benefited from it in the end.
As a sort of a, how would I say, reward for finishing high up, it means you got to start a bit lower down now for the second race, right near the back with just David Baker and Michael Hall behind you. So going into that race, what are your hopes for race 2?
There's no reason I can't do the same. I'm used to starting from the back, so it should be okay.
Thank you, Keith, and good luck for race 2.
Thank you.
Also here with David Baker. David, a second place for you, but saw a couple of incidents between yourself and Pete Newen on the last couple of laps there as well.
Yeah, some nice close racing with Pete. I'm ashamed to say that I think that was my fault coming out that chicane that hit him round, but glad to see he recovered to 4th, I think.
In a way, it took you out of the firing line of the CQR boys taking each other at Red Bull style, and gotta be a bit happy with that second place.
Dan. It's McLaren style, okay? That's just like, what's we call it? Austria, 1999. That's way before Red Bull even existed in F1. Come on.
Okay. Well,
Taking you to task.
at least we've not had a Spa 1998 situation yet.
Yeah.
Oh, give us time.
But as I was saying, second race, Dave, sees you starting alongside Michael Horn there onto the back row. Do you reckon you'll be able to push yourself up further in this one?
Oh, hopefully. I managed to pull off some nice overtakes in that last one, so hopefully I'll get a chance to do that again.
Yeah, some great racing there, and good luck with the second race, Dave.
Cheers, thank you.
Well, we've also got Magic. Magic, hello.
Noon.
Hello, how was your race today?
It was exciting. Had a cracking race with Steven. It was absolutely awesome.
Well, race number 2, of course, inverse grid. You're going to have to move yourself a little bit through the field and try and get yourself points and have an awesome race at the same time. I've asked this question to a couple of other people already. Safety car. Do you prepare for this race in the event that you are going to have a safety car, or do you just have to risk the fact that you could be the incident?
I hope I'm not going to be the incident, but you never know. And yeah, it's going to happen. No matter how well everyone drives, this track is just so narrow that at some point there will be carnage.
Well, good luck in race number 2. Dan, that's an interesting point as well. That we've got ourselves, you know, this is, in my opinion, the Grand Prix equivalent of Indy Turn 1. Because it's narrow, it's fast. You slow it down. In Indy, you don't slow it down in the sense you're going from 235 miles an hour down to 0. But you slow it down the fact that you've got to funnel into that corner. You do drop about 20 miles an hour on the apex. So in its own way, this is like Indy Turn 1. Monza is about as dangerous.
They all got through the first time though, so we can cross our fingers and hope we do the second time. But the first race was from a rolling start, the second one will be a standing start, so a bit of a different turn of speed and a bit of a different situation that'll be coming down to turn 1 this time. But as I said before, they managed to do it the first time. Whether they can do it a second time will be interesting to see. But as I say, the safety car dilemma, what will happen? Do people prepare for that safety car, or will they be in a position where they're not necessarily preparing for it? See a safety car in that last race, it's worth noting.
Yeah, that's a true story. But we do often see them more in race number 2 than we do in race number 1. Before we go, Pete Newman Racing. Hello, Pete. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. They don't want to talk to me. Well, we're going to step aside for a moment. We'll be back with race number 2 after this video. If you're looking forward to another great track from iRacing, then check this one out. This, ladies and gentlemen, is what we call the Nordschleife. Watch it.
We're so excited to be bringing the Nürburgring to everybody. It's by far the most requested track that we've ever had. I've been with iRacing since the beginning. I can't tell you how many people I've met at trade shows or racetracks and demos that we've done all across the United States and even in Europe. And it's always the most requested track that we've had. And it's always been kind of a sad answer, no, we don't have it. When are you bringing it? And we never really had a good answer. And obviously we announced this last year, and it's super exciting. I mean, it really is one of the premier tracks in the entire world.
The Nürburgring, to me as a race fan, is the holy grail of racetracks. Even from the gaming aspect, just getting that car around that track was a personal achievement by itself. It's kind of got this iconic status to it that makes it different than any other track in the world.
We actually have a lot of history with the Nürburgring, dating back about 20 years. We created a version of the track for Grand Prix Legends, which was a Formula One simulation for the PC. But this will be the first time that we've worked on the track with laser scan data, highly precise measurements, and of course the iRacing standards of quality. So we're really excited about this project, and we can't wait to release it. There are two main facilities at Nürburgring. There's the Grand Prix course, which is basically a modern F1 style racetrack. And then there's the Nordschleife itself, which has been around for decades. And of course, the combined course, where you can take the Grand Prix course, drive around it, and then there's a point where you branch off onto the Nordschleife and you continue there all the way around the Nordschleife and then back down to the Grand Prix course. And the end result is an extremely large, unique racetrack. We arrived with a really large crew. Actually, 4 of us made the trip, and we spent a week there photographing the track, taking video recordings of the racetrack, the surroundings, the scenery, the towns. And when it's all said and done, we returned home with a massive amount of data. If you took our largest project ever, this is probably 4 times that size. So it's going to take a lot of work, but it's really our plan and our intent not to cut any corners and really produce and create the best version of the Nürburgring possible that we can. The terrain and topography of the area that surrounds the Nürburgring is really important to the character and accuracy and feel of the track. We're really working on new ways and methods and types of data that we can use to build the best topography and best terrain model possible. And it will be something never before seen in iRacing or racing sims in general. We have a laser scan of the track, and that laser scan is incredibly dense. Essentially, there's so many points that you could take a quarter and lay it on the laser points, and the quarter wouldn't fall through. So we're taking that level of detail from the scan, and we're trying to translate that into what you see in the sim.
You won't find the level of detail that we bring to tracks anywhere else. You guys expect that from us, and we'll continue to do that. It's not just purely laser scanned. It really will have personality, and I think that that's what's going to make our track unique.
Isn't about speed. Do these rivals chase speed because they can, or because they can't help it? IndyCar, the heart of racing. Go to IndyCar.com for live timing and scoring, upcoming race details, and to join the conversation.
Ladies and gentlemen, a look up above at the Autodrome in Monza, one of the most historic racing tracks in all of Grand Prix racing. Of course, the other one is coming soon to iRacing. That is the Nordschleife coming down this fall. That's like, sounds like a movie picture, really, doesn't it? This fall to iRacing.
It's going to be a blockbuster there. That's one thing you can say. The Nordschleife, a circuit which has been long awaited on iRacing, and we might just get them one layout, we're getting two. We get the Nordschleife, the Grand Prix layout, and even one where you can combine the two. So I think we're going to see a lot of action on those circuits in the fall. As you say, Will, it will be a blockbuster.
Well, here we can see then a look up above as we're going to get ourselves a reverse grid, don't forget, for this, the second of our two events here in Championship of the Futures World Touring Car Championship. And Dan, two things these viewers need to know. Weather conditions, well, they're just a little bit different. There you can see them up on your screen right now. But more importantly, it's a standing start down towards turn 1. That means anything, and oh, I mean anything, can happen.
It's going to be a bit more frantic, I think, than what we saw in the rolling start earlier on. And as you say, Will, weather has changed. It's a bit cooler than what we saw earlier. 65 degrees Fahrenheit, 76 on the track. And something which the drivers haven't mentioned on the interviews is the fact that they got to make a mandatory pit stop in this race as well. So that's another element of strategy to bring into this race.
Well, here you can see then these drivers getting themselves ready, doing a little bit of practice. You can see Ellis Stevens, we ride ourselves along board with him. As, ladies and gentlemen, if you are a new member to iRacing, use this promo code. You see it up on your screen. Get yourself 3 months for $12. Get all the free content, plus the full GT. That's both the GT2 and the GT3 models, and you too can become a part of the world's most realistic online racing simulator. That is known as iRacing.com Motorsport Simulations. Well, 16 drivers down, get ahead of themselves down towards turn 1. Here's the question, how many will survive?
16 survived the first race, so I'm not sure how many are going to survive this one. I think there might be a small incident maybe, but not the big one. And speaking of iRacing offers, of course, not leaving out the existing members. You've got the 1 year for $49 going on at the moment as well.
Do I have to do that in a really kind of loud voice, just because of how we normally only get this, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, on a Black Friday? So it does deserve just a little bit of an attention. 1 minute. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are a current member of iRacing.com Motorsport Simulations, use PR code PR-Early Renewal 2015 to take advantage of 1 year for only $49. That is promo code PR-Early Renewal 2015 for 1 year of iRacing for only $49. How did that go?
Very well done. I think that's convinced a few people.
Yeah, and let's be honest, Dan, that is an event that we only see during Black Friday.
I was shocked when I saw that email in my inbox this morning, I have to admit. And it's a Black Friday exclusive usually, and looks like Black Friday is coming a little bit early this year. Maybe they got the calendars mixed up.
Well, yeah, true story, bro. As we can see there, Keith Hamilton running himself P4 in practice, 15 seconds away. Well, that is all we need to see. We're just 35 minutes away from seeing another winner in the Championship of the Futures World Touring Car Championship. And we are about to run yourself through your starting grid here on RaceSpotTV. Don't forget, it's a standing start. That will be important. We can show you a starting grid in exactly 10 seconds time. Miles Coletti then will be starting this race at the front of the grid. We thought that he'd be starting from the very rear, but it looks like he will be starting this race in that 226 car on the front row in the inside. Alex Bristow, number 2. P number 2, Matthew Barnett on the inside of row 2, and Ben Palmer on the outside. We head it on back, and Dan, well, 16 drivers, 8 rows, standing towards turn 1. Anything can happen. It'll be fun. It'll be easy, right? Look out for Jake Blackhall, of course.
Easier. definitely the 16 drivers agree with you. But yeah, Jake Blackwell on the outside of row 6 will be one to watch as well. Mars Coletzi on the front row, bit of a reprieve there for him. We thought he'd be at the back, but he takes up the place at pole position. All the drivers a bit further up to look out for us. You got Ben Palmer in 4th. Russell Laidler actually sat in 9th and 10th as well, and I think the race is about to get underway.
Yep, here we are then. Green flag in the air. Here we go, racing for race number 2. 35 minutes on the play clock as the driver's storming down towards turn 1. P2, very slow start. That means floundering towards 3 wide already. Look at this pack. Swarm themselves down in towards turn 1. Something's going to have to give. One car off already. That's the Pete Newman car. He's deciding to go straight to the escape road there. And, oh, we got 2 drivers turned around. It's all got messy there, Dan. Bit like that Formula 3 race a couple of weeks ago. One driver taking the escape road. And we can see still 2 wide racings work themselves down in towards the second chicane, the Variante della Roggia. We do, I believe, stay green for the time being, but we have ourselves the Pete Newman car, who basically decided, you know what, YOLO, I can't be bothered going through turn 1.
It might have been a good decision. He might have known what was going to happen further up the road and thought didn't want none of that. Unfortunately, it looks like Matthew Bunn did have a bit of rear end action again though. He was one of the drivers who was spun round, but at the moment it's a car Ben Palmer who's taking the early lead.
Yep, there you can see Palmer in that number 3 CQR car as he heads himself now. Behind is, well, we can't actually tell right now because it's showing Miles Coletzi as being in the lead. It's not Miles Coletzi, we promise. Coletzi currently runs himself in 2nd position. There you can see him on the run down in towards that.
Oh, big accident, Will. We got a very big accident at the back. There was Ashley Sutton's involved.
Laidler.
There was a Pete.
Caution's out, caution's out.
Caution is out. Rusty Laidler, Michael Hall. I think we definitely need to go have a look back at that. I'm going to see. It looks like they've all got together. One of the cars has had a little bit of a moment going through the second Lesmo, and then the Pete Newman car has hit another one across the track, and it's just all. That's the big one.
Well, we do apologise for that graphic staying up on your screen, by the way, first of all. There we can see that. We're going to get ourselves a fresh new look at the start of this race. This is from Mars Coletzi's point of view. There you can see him then. This is the run. And you notice, first of all, that double 9 car, he had himself a slow run down in towards turn number 1. As you can see, Alex Bristow, he gets himself a good launch off the line. Then he messes it up down in towards turn number 1. That bunts his field back up. And then if we slow it all the way down, the Pete Newman car just gets himself pushed onto the grass there. I believe that might actually have been the number 58 car of Pete Newman. No, it wasn't. But then we got 2 cars intersected there down in towards turn number 1. Just trying to figure out what Pete Newman car that was actually. Because it doesn't look as though he had to slow down that much. Try to figure out which one that is, Dan. Because another Pete Newman car gets bumped out the way there, down in your mid-pack. I think actually it might be Matthew Bunn who gets involved in a slowdown penalty as well. Down towards turn number 2 there's no issue. But then it's down on the exit of the Lesmo number 2 that it all goes crazy. Normally by that point we start to take a breath and settle down.
It's the curse of the commentator. Well, you know, it's such a magic segment. It's about causing the safety car. I think he's one of the drivers that's caused that safety car. A lot of damage to him. The car at the first corner that cut the corner was Stephen Burke, which is a number 139 car. So Stephen Burke was the one who missed the chicane. But that was a very, very big accident at the exit of Lesmo 2 there.
Yeah, you can see Sutton, it's actually all started down on the entry to Lesmo number 2. Our camera caught the rear end of it, and there was 2 separate incidents there. You can see all the dust and all the smoke that caused that incident. 5 cars involved, driver upside down, but we are under caution here in this, the second race of the day here on RaceSpotTV. Whilst we have the opportunity, we'll take you RaceSpotTV side by side, but only for a minute and a half. We'll be right back. Lights are out on top of the pace car then. Well, we're done. Here's 2 issues that we've got to deal with now. We've lost 5 minutes under caution, but also Baker, P number 15 up to P number 6.
Yeah, great drive from David Baker. He was slightly involved with the Ashley Sutton incident on the entry, but avoided the big one. And another driver at the moment who is giving it some is Pete Newman in that 58 car. He has got a lot of ground to make up. He's going to catch in this safety car line with the lights out.
Well, here you can see behind, it is the driver of Baker in that 5th position, working along himself through the curve grande right now. 28 minutes and 15 seconds to go here on RaceSpotTV. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, coming up this Saturday, the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series returns. It is from the home of British Motorsport, Silverstone. It'll be live. It'll be exclusive here on RaceSpotTV and on iRacing Live. And then, in less than 1 month's time, we've got ourselves the inaugural 6 hours of the Glen here on RaceSpotTV. That'll be on July 11th on the world's greatest sim racing broadcaster, that is RaceSpotTV, and also on iRacing Live. And Dan, 2 amazing events coming up over the course of this coming month.
Oh, definitely 6 hours to the Glen. That's going to be a great event, Watkins Glen, and this race has been great as well. Jake Blackhall is coming to the pits, so we might have actually seen some strategy at play. Jake Blackhall was in the pits along with Ellis Stevens and Ashley Sutton, I believe, making their compulsory pit stops. So might be a little bit early for compulsory pit stops though, but these 3 drivers have been in the pits on this last lap.
Well, there you can see Miles Coletti running himself in P number 2 as they head themselves down the back straightaway. The curva di Salagolo. So technically it is a curve as they put themselves down into Variante Ascari. But Dan, just how hard is this final chicane here at Ascari? Because it looks easy, but it really, really isn't.
No, Ascari is not an easy corner at all. You've got to judge your braking right. Then you've got to try and carry as much speed as possible into the left-hander. So it really is it's one of the more trickier corners, and Parabolic is another one of those, just a bit deceiving. You think, oh, it's just there's a lot of things to do there as well. You've got to slow it down. You've got to make sure you get your line, clip your apex. Even though these corners look simple, they're not as simple as they look.
Down the back straightaway, they work. There you can see the iRacing.com Ford Mustang, the safety car for today's event, bringing the field back down towards the green flag. Now, note the fact that this race went green, we had 35 minutes. Since then, we run ourselves 2 full laps of caution and a 3rd. That means that pit window, every driver has to make a pit stop. That pit window just eats out a little bit. The smart, well, they've done their math. The unsmart, they're going to get swarmed like flies midway through this race. Here we are then, ladies and gentlemen. You can see the field is in command of Ben Palmer. Number 2T6 car, Miles Coletti, just behind him. Single file restart here at Monza. Any moment now, we're going to pick up the pace. We're going to go back to green flag racing here at Monza. Green flag is now in the air. And I tell you what there, Dan, a great restart by Palmer, but Baker right on the rear, up into P4 before they get down in towards turn number 1.
Great start from Palmer, but it's Bacon a 3 wide behind as well. A little bit of contact there. Keith Hamilton across the escape road, and that's going to lose him a lot of position. So a bit more drama there on the restart. The Tigers Wood car.
Yeah, there you can see Keith Hamilton coming back out onto the racetrack in that number 14 car. But they all do generally make it through without any incident. As you can see there, it is Fag versus Bristow. Battle for position as they head themselves out of the corner. And we actually ride ourselves on board with that driver of Robert Fag. Now through the Variante de Rogia, the second chicane. Now down to curve the Merz line once again. Turn number 6 and turn number 7 as they work themselves through that feeling. As well, we're into our first full lap here, Dan, and we see start, speed, restarts. We don't have it yet. Stevens, though, putting that pressure on Pete Newman, the Pete Newman car. Newman is having a miserable race here today.
But Newman's made up some places. He was 16th at the start of the lap, and he's already picked off, it looks like, Ellis Stevens, Keith Hamilton, and Stephen Burke's teammate. So he is on the move, and the pack has split up already. We said before the first race about splitting up, and a chance further here for Alex Bristow to maybe go down the inside of Russell Laidler, but Laidler says no thank you and defends the position, but the cars in front of Russell Laidler, such as Robert Fagg, Paul Smith, Steve Baker, Miles Coletti and Ben Palmer, have already pulled away quite a bit considering we've only been green for the best part of 3/4 of a lap.
Well, here's a look then from our aerial coverage as they work themselves down in towards the parabolic. You can see top 5 drivers have pulled away, but there's a bit of gap from P2 down towards P3 as they head themselves down to complete another lap here. From Galazzi to Baker is classified as about 3/4 of a second. The reason why we talk about fuel here, Dan, you alluded to it in race number 1. These guys are full throttle for 70% of the lap. Anyone who's ever watched Grand Prix racing gets sick and tired of this fact, but if you get yourself a safety car, it becomes oh so important to determine exactly how much fuel you need in towards race number 2. Is down to the inside there. CQR 33 cars side by side. A little bit of wheel bumping there going on, but Fagg round the inside of Paul Smith.
So Robert Fagg up into 4th place, and they were looking frantic behind, and they're 3 wide. You got Blackhall, Matthew Byrne, Ashley Sutton. They're starting to get themselves to a bit of an order now, but they were running 3 wide at one point there going through the first corner. But Jake Blackhall, he had a disappointing first race. He's now Ashley Sutton and Matthew Byrne behind him. Byrne suddenly, a little bit of a lean there from Sutton on Byrne, and Byrne's going to use it to go down the inside of Blackhall, and Blackhall's got his 2 places there, but Matthew Byrne said he could do some competitive lap times around here, and it's now time for him to put his money where his mouth is as such. Sutton though, go down the inside though.
Yeah, there you can see Sutton's going to move himself up a position, and that means that Byrne all the way down in towards P number 11 here, and there you can see that Holy Balls car as he works himself out of Lesman number 2 down the curve of this Solo Gully one more time as well. We've got ourselves our second green flag lap here. They can see the gap between Sutton and Byrne already up to 4/10 of a second. This is the thing with Sutton, he's just so good at moving himself through the field. He's the best pure racer, I think, in this series, and I often allude to drivers like Will Power in the Verizon IndyCar series, Dan. It's like Will Power is a very, very, very good driver. He's not necessarily the best racer. Elliot Castroneves may well be the best racer in IndyCar, but they're 2 very different concepts.
Yeah, Ashley Sutton, we've seen him in many series to show what he can do. We see him on Thursday nights in the V8s. He's not been driving that car very long, but he is slowly getting to grips with it, and put him in something, and he's quick. But talking of someone who's not so quick, Jake Blackhall's gone wide, and that's going to maybe allow Ellis Stevens a chance to go alongside him as they start what's going to be the 6th lap for them, and Blackhall will have to defend. But yeah, Ashley Sutton is a very, very good driver. We've seen him on TV on ITV4 in the Clio Cup, and he just shows even on iRacing that skill and quality he uses from him.
Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you wanting to know what a sprint race is something around 20 to 35 minutes, and you see that here on RaceSpotTV every Tuesday night. Coletti just battling it out there with Ben Palmer, battle for the race lead as they work themselves down in towards turn number 4 and 5, the second chicane, the Variante della Roggia, now down into Curve de Lesmo, this double apex right-hander. We work ourselves on board with Miles Coletti, 135 kilometers an hour through the center of Curve de Lesmo 1 into the second Lesmo. You can see bringing itself up to 185 kilometers, then back down to 125 kilometers an hour on the run down into the corner. Now down towards this back trail, you can see just how fast these cars pick up that pace as Coletti 7/10 of a second behind Palmer right now, but up to 250 kilometers an hour almost down in towards the Variante Ascari, turn number 8, 9 and 10, making sure not to hit those sleeping policemen too much. But Coletti closed up there by 2/10 of a second with Variante Ascari alone, Dan.
The slipstream playing a big part, and Miles Coletti had a disappointing first race, but he's sticking a while to Ben Palmer. And Ben did say in our halftime show that that's the effect the slipstream will have, that you can have 5-6 cars together, and that's what it's proven to be at the moment. Ben Palmer cannot shake Miles Coletti or David Baker, but David Baker up into 3rd place now, so Baker, who started 15th, up into 3rd, and Palmer pits early.
Well, there you can see then Ben Palmer on towards pit road. We ride ourselves on board of him, 64 kilometers an hour, of course, on towards pit road as he's going to make his first and only pit stop of the day. So here we are then, as we've had a couple of people, as you mentioned to earlier, Dan, who's made pit stops. Rossi Laidler, Michael Hall, Magic Sajovic, Ashley Sutton, Jake Blackhall, Ellis Stevens all making pit stops, but Palmer trying to do that one right now, making himself a stop, getting himself 4 fresh tyres by the looks of it. He's going to get himself back onto the racetrack in just about 9 seconds time. But Palmer, well, he's on towards pit road at about mid-race pace if you took that caution into account.
Also joining him in the pits was Pete Newman. So Pete Newman, who was involved in the incident earlier on, also making a pit stop at the mid-post station of this race. And Ben Palmer, very slow in the pits. It looks like Pete Newman's going to beat him out, and Pete Newman will. And Pete Newman was a long way behind Ben Palmer. Where's Stephen Burke? Because Stephen Burke's pitted as well. He's just coming down the start-finish line now. I think Ben Palmer has lost quite a bit of time in this pit stop, you know.
Yeah, Palmer is right alongside that. Newman will run down towards turn 1. I think the reason why Newman didn't take tyres, Ben Palmer did on the run down to that first corner, and there you can see Stephen Burke right behind. Oh, turn around on the exit of the very end of the Rettifilio goes that driver there of Ben Palmer. His day, Dan, goes from bad to absolutely pitifully miserable.
I don't think Ben's going to be too amused at that. Pete Newman there, not for the first time we've seen tonight, involving a bit of argy-bargy. And let's have a look at this replay again. What it looks like is Ben Palmer just had beat him on the exit there. Although Ben Palmer, I think he may have gone a little bit slight. It might slid out a little bit, but Newman made sure Palmer was going to go around. And I don't think it was intentional from Pete. He's not that sort of driver, of course. But what it has done is push Ben Palmer further back in his decision to pit earlier than some of his compatriots may come back to haunt him now.
Well, realistically, let's make this race as Baker now comes on towards pit road. Let's make it a 3-horse race. Let's make it Baker versus Coletti versus Fag. Newman, I think, is out of it. Burke, I think, is also out of it. They lost too much time there in the little incident with Ben Palmer. Baker on towards pit road. He's cocking his car now as he's going to get himself some fresh tyres. He's going to top up with some fuel as well. Let's see how long his pit stop's going to be. Don't forget, the drivers of Hall, Laidler, etc. They were only doing 16-second stops earlier. But Baker now going to get himself towards the end of his fuel cycle. 22.9 seconds. He heads himself back out onto this racing circuit. And that is around the pit stop time you want it to be. So Baker now waiting for that acceleration zone. The green cones now can get going once again. Let's see what's behind him. The answer is absolutely nothing within 2 seconds of him, and that is important. Baker has really snatched the advantage there down and towards turn 1, Dan.
Baker with the advantage. As you see, Ben Palmer quite a way behind. We missed a collision on track as well. Matthew Bunn straight into the back of Alex Bristow into turn 1. So Matthew Bunn involved in a bit of contact there with Alex Bristow, pushing Bristow further down the field there.
Well, out front, here you can see then Miles Coletti running himself through the Variante Ascari down and towards that final straightaway down towards the Parabolica. 16 minutes and 20 seconds remaining in today's events. Robert Fragg in second, Paul Smith in third, Michael Hall in fourth, and Magic Sadjevic rounding out your top 5. Now, out of these top 3, Coletti, Fragg and Smith, they haven't pitted. Hall in 4th and Sadjevic in 5th, they have pitted. That'll be something to bear in mind as we get ourselves close to pit stops, and here on towards pit road will come Miles Coletti with 16 minutes of this motor race to go. So Coletti now on towards pit road, and we've also got Paul Smith, Magic Sadjevic. Sadjevic is actually on towards pit road here, Dan, even though he pitted under green, but it'll be interesting to see if he can undercut all of these other drivers.
Sagowitz was involved in the first lap incident, Will, so that may have been for damage before the pit window opened. Laidler and Sutton getting a bit up close and personal there as well, going through turn 1.
Yep, as down in towards turn 1, it right now is Fag from Hall from Sutton, Laidler in 4th, Blackhall in 5th, Sadjevic is still doing a long pit stop there, so he's going to be out in a slow time actually, so it's not going to be him taking this one away. 21.4 seconds for him. As we're having a look there for our field, you can see the first driver out. Well, that is Paul Smith in that front pack, but Miles Coletti already back out onto the racing surface, and these drivers are all ahead of Baker, or are they ahead of Baker? Yes! Coletti will just be ahead of Baker as they come down into the Variante del Rettifilio one more time, but we need to turn our attention now to these remaining drivers of Robert Fagg, Michael Hall and Ashley Sutton. Fagg trying to build up a gap on the run down to the Variante Ascari one more time. 14 minutes of this race to go. Fagg has to be on pit road in 2 laps, if not that. Hall and Sutton now being soon as well, but Sutton and Hall, did they do something incredible here? Can they maybe take fuel only and jump ahead of this field?
It's also time for Ashley Sutton to really put that right foot down, because if he can get a couple of good laps in here, we saw he was in that pack of drivers which are fighting for the lead. I wouldn't rule Ashley Sutton or Michael Hall for that matter out of taking the lead of this race. As you say, well, they could just take fuel, but the times now for Sutton and Hall will be important for the future of this race. They can get some quick lap times in. They're in clear air now, so that will be something to look out for. They're in clear air, and if they can get the times in, they could factor in the end of the race.
Yep, there you can see, we zoom in on Robert Fagg in towards turn number 1, and you can see that gap, 1.4 seconds over Michael Hall. Last time by, previous lap was 154.5 for Robert Fagg, 154.4 for Michael Hall, so 1/10 of a second faster. It's not over by any stretch of the imagination. And then from Hall to Sutton, 1.2 seconds. They've worked themselves now through the Curve Grande. So right now it's Fagg and 2 CQR cars. Then Rusty Laidler and Jake Blackhall rounding out your top 5. But this is a topsy-turvy race, and there's still so much to go here, Dan. But I think our battle is going to be Coletti versus Baker, because look at that. Baker's right up on the rear of Coletti all of a sudden. And I think Baker is going to have to push to find a way past now, because this well could be a podium position that we're talking about in 13 minutes' time.
Yeah, Baker had a little look in the parabolic, couldn't make it stick, but into that one, he's going to break a little bit later than Coletti. Coletti gives him a lot of room there, so Mars maybe a bit generous there, but Baker's through into what is, I think that is now the lead of the cars who pits. So Baker at the moment is the first of the cars who's pitted, and Mars Coletti didn't put too much of a fight there, and we saw in the last race Ashley Sutton and Michael Hall fighting, and maybe Coletti saw that and thought better that you could let Baker past, and then goes with Baker, be able to get a slipstream, and let's see there, maybe thinking of the long game.
Well, yep, as you can see, these drivers 12.5 minutes now left to go. But where's Fagg and where's Michael Hall? Let's ride ourselves along board with Michael Hall. You can see there just in the distance is Robert Fagg. We're going to run down in towards the Parabolica. We'll see if we need to angle that camera to show the driver of Robert Fagg coming on towards pit road on the exit of this magnificent corner. Of course, yes, we've been paved over. We don't care about it anymore, but well, the top 3 drivers, they stay out for another lap here, so they're going as long as they possibly can. Hall in second place right now. Robert Fagg leads away. Last time by, Hall was slower by half a second. Could Hall be saving fuel here?
He could be saving fuel, making an extra lap longer. The Russell Laidler and Jack Blackhall in the pits though, so Laidler and Blackhall from 4th and 5th. And where they come out compared to Mars Coletti and David Baker, I think is the main talking point here.
Well, there you can see the pit stop time for Rusty Laidler as he's going to complete his service. We'll say that in about 10 seconds time maximum. Jake Blackhall is also on towards pit road as they continue their pit sequence. There you can see Rusty Laidler 19.3 seconds. He gets himself back onto the racetrack, and Jake Blackhall will complete his service in just 1 moment's time. You can see he's clearly behind Rusty Laidler as these 2 drivers coming out of pit road. This is a long stop now for Blackhall. This is a very long stop for Blackhall. He's losing all forms of time here, Dan. 34 seconds out and away. Speeding penalty for Blackhall costs him a top 10.
Very unfortunate there for Jake Blackhall. It has not been his night. We saw him having problems in the first race, and that's not going to put him in a much better mood. And Russell Laidler did not get out in front of the cars of Coletti and Baker, but he's not too far behind them. So it is currently still the car of David Baker leading those who have been into the pits, with Coletti in second, and behind them is the car of Russell Laidler. So Laidler now be looking to push on, and we'll see what happens in the next lap with these 3 cars, because Fagg now just going around the Parabolica for the 11th time.
Yep, there you can see Sutton 2.4 seconds behind your race leader, and we know, Dan, with 10 minutes to go that anything can happen. We run ourselves a lap on board then with a former champion in this series, Ashley Sutton. Talk us through a lap here at Monza.
So here they are then. All 3 of those cars have not pitted yet, so looks like they go for 1 more lap. Sutton just goes past his brakes just before the 150 metre mark for turn 1. You got the right, then left, a little bit of curb, in fact a lot of curb they're taking on the exit. Ashley Sutton, we see the car of Michael Hall in front, going to go up the gears now, past underneath the Fly Emirates. It's a long right-hander. And then following that, it is a very, very long right-hander. You got the straight, and then they're going to start braking down now. Just after just under the bridge, Ashley Sutton brakes, takes the turn. This is quite a tricky corner here, the left and right, because depending on what happens with the curbs there, you can lose a bit of time. Very tight corner. Here we go, up to Lesmo 1, Ashley Sutton, right, good apex there from Sutton. See Michael Hall maybe a little bit wider than Sutton, but it's not going to cost him much time. And now plunging downhill into Lesmo too, right-hander. Sutton takes a lot of that inside curb, puts him a little bit onto the gravel. But now they're coming down the straight towards the Variante Ascari. This is where we saw the instant start of at the start of the race with quite a few of these cars affected in that instant. And Sutton will now be getting the slipstream of Michael Hall as they now start to break in towards the Variante Ascari. Sutton with a wheel on the grass there, and Sutton extremely well there to hold on to that. That was a superb recovery from Ashley Sutton, and he's not lost much time in the process as well. Many drivers, I think, would have had a mini coronary over that, but Ashley Sutton keeps on going, and now he's going to get down to the Parabolica. And despite that moment, he is right on the back bumper now of Michael Hall as he starts to break for the Parabolica, the long right-hander. Sutton with a bit more of a wider angle, so he can try and cut in a little bit there, Ashley Sutton, but not quite been able to make it work. Well, the exit of the Parabolica, and are any of these drivers coming in? No. So Fag, Hall and Sutton are not coming in again, Will, as they come to complete the end of that lap.
Indeed so, and we're just going to show you a replay very quickly, and this is the driver there of Miles Coletti getting himself through David Baker. That's the reason why down the run through the second chicane, Baker pushing wide, Coletti round the outside in that number 226 CQR machine, meaning that David Baker is now down in position, but they then go side by side into the position, and Baker actually is able to stay ahead by running the inside line through Lesmo number 2. Hall now still leads away, captured himself, and actually started his point 3 for a second, but Robert Fag has fallen down in towards P number 3, and damn, it's CQR from CQR customer B team, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what we're calling it, but Robert Fag, they can see that number 28 car now down in towards P number 3.
And the reason Robert Fag down to third place is because at the first corner, he's gone across the corner. He's not gone down the escape road, but he's short-lined the corner. And unfortunately, that's meant that for him that Michael Hall and Ashley Sutton have now been released. And these CQR teammates, we didn't see them working together very well at the end of the first race, but I think we will see them working together now to try and push their way up the order. They're Ashley Sutton going around the outside of Michael Hall to get down towards the Variante Ascari.
Yep, so here we can see then Sutton looking for the race lead for Michael Hall, of course. Don't forget what happened one corner after this in the last race. These two drivers came together, but Sutton will move himself with 6 minutes 51 seconds to the race lead. Fag hasn't pitted, Hall hasn't pitted, Sutton hasn't pitted. This one could realistically, they're doing exactly the same move, Dan. They're doing exactly the same move that they did last time by. This time they do get away with it down in towards the curve of Parabolica, but I worry about these CQR drivers right now. They've A, got to come in, and B, at some point, something's going to have to give, as we see one driver, that is Sutton. That's Hall even on towards pit road.
A smart decision there maybe from Michael Hall, because if he battles with Ashley Sutton, he's going to slow himself down. If they slow themselves down, it means that the cars of Coletti, Baker, etc. will be able to catch them, will make them quicker than they were before, obviously. So Michael Hall takes the decision to go into the pits, which leaves Ashley Sutton and Robert Fag still on track, and Fag has actually gone past Sutton. So the CQR customer car now ahead of the works effort.
Yeah, and there's no tyres there for Michael Hall. Bear that one in mind. This should be a fast stop. In comparison, 15, 16.2 out and away. Sutton will have to respond in kind. There you can see side by side between Sutton and the driver of Robert Fag. Fag still leads away on the exit of the second chicane. 5 minutes worth of racing to go here at the wonderful Autodromo de Monza. Down in towards Lesmo number 1 they come. Sutton still in second place. There's your biggest movers and shakers in the race so far. Baker up 10 positions, Hall up 13, but Sutton into P2 from being well down the field. And Fag, got to give him credit, he's one of the top 5 all race long, Dan.
Something to look out for, Will. Ellis Stevens, let's have a look at Ellis Stevens. Has he made a pit stop? Because he's come out in front of Michael Hall. I think he has,
He made that pit stop under caution.
So, does he have to make another one, or do you think he'll be okay to go towards the end? Because he's actually come out in front of Michael Hall, who's come out in front of David Baker.
There's 3 laps to go. Anything can happen with 3 laps to go, especially at Monza. It depends on what lap times he's doing. He's done a 1:57 like last time by. I think he's trying to save fuel. He's got a 2.7 second advantage over Michael Hall. He will lose that position to Michael Hall. There's plenty of time for Hall to catch and pass Stevens in this motor race, but realistically, Stevens is running for 5th place right now because of the fact that he should stay ahead of Miles Coletti. Fag on towards pit road, and also Sutton on towards pit road. And this is down.
Fag's blowing his engine. Fag's blowing his engine, Will. I think as he's going on the limiter, he's blowing the engine. So Robert Fagg has, I think, pretty much ruined his chances now of a good finish.
Well, let's ride this one on board then with Robert Fagg. We'll get it from the rear. This is where you can hear the engine note better than anywhere else. We'll just listen to it from here. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment Robert Fagg bins his race right now. Well, you know what he did there, Dan? He was trying to shift down to pit limiter, and I think he just shifted down too quickly. One gear change too many. He's out of the race. Sutton's on pit road. Now Fagg will be able to get that repaired rig to reset everything. He'll be able to good to go. But here comes Sutton out of pit road. Hall is ahead of him. Hall is ahead of him by a massive margin because Sutton takes tyres. It'll be tyres versus no tyres. Sutton down towards P6 with what? 2 laps to go. Sutton gaining up 12 seconds over Michael Hall. That will never happen.
Sutton's right in the thick of the battle now. He's got Pete Newman just behind him. Magic Sagritz, and Sutton took tyres, Hall didn't. Michael Hall has come out now leading this race, and Ashley Sutton has now got the, is that Russell Laidler? No, it's Paul Smith. I was going to say that was Russell Laidler. We could see a bit of action, but Paul Smith for now is the car in front of Ashley Sutton. So Ashley Sutton, I wouldn't say he's a loser quite yet because he might be able to pull some positions back with the fresher tyres. Oh, Paul Smith there nearly rolled in the car there, that Kia Optima. I've had experience of that myself at Sonoma. You can actually roll these things, and Paul Smith, a big two-wheeled moment there.
Well, here you can see your actual race leader is technically Ellis Stevens. He's got himself a lap to go after this one. He's got Michael Hall behind him. His last lap time, a 1:55. That was on pace, but he's still trying to save fuel here. Hall right on the rear of Ellis Stevens. And let's be honest, if there's a craftier guy in the series, I do not know. Except for Ellis Stevens, and Stevens potentially a lap away from stealing a victory here in the Champions of the Futures World Touring Car Championship by pure magic in pit road under that first caution. Stevens through the curve of Parabolica. Will he stay in? Will he come out? He's got to stay out now, Dan. He has to stay out as he's going to come onto pit road. But no, he will stay out. White flag this time by. One more lap to go. Stevens heading to the line. He's got to hold on now for an entire lap over Michael Hall.
It's going to be tight. I think they just will take the checker flag the next time by. But as you said, Ellis Stevens, a very cheeky chappy and not something that you'd say is out of Ellis's remit to do something like this. And Ellis has got Michael Hall right behind him. As they cross the line, there's 33 minutes and 7 seconds. So they are going to be very, very tight. But I think they just will take the checker flag this time round.
Yeah, and that's the interesting point as well, is that the start-finish line, because you alluded to it, is so far down the front straightaway compared to the start-finish line. Be interesting to see what the timing loop does here. They're going to be very close to the checkered flag, and Stevens runs wide. It's all over. Stevens runs wide. That's going to allow Stevens to lose that race lead. Hall will go to the race lead anyway. It doesn't matter. Stevens down in towards P number 2. Pushing wide down at the very ante to the Roger. That means that Michael Hall, regardless, will take that white flag, might take that race win. If you're Hall, you push for it, because that way you can screw Stevens out of even more points. But here we are, 40 seconds on the play clock. Uncertainty still going on here at Monza, but it's Hall from Stevens, from Laidler, and it's a country mile right now from Hall to Stevens. Look at that gap, as I think that Stevens is really fading. He's gone over the third chicane there. I think he's out of fuel. I think he's going to try and coast it to the line. He is out of fuel. Ellis Stevens, he didn't have enough. That's why he's coasting the chicanes here. Stevens is going to run out of fuel before the start-finish line. It's going to mean that Michael Hall, 10 seconds to go on the exit of the Parabolica. Will we see the white and the checkered at the same time? The answer will be final lap. Checkered flag is not going to come out. We are going to get ourselves another lap, and Stevens completely ruined that one there, Dan.
Yeah, Ellis Stevens, unfortunately, looks like he seems not to be out of, he seems to be a bit slower, but he's still running. But it's interesting that the timing loop is actually showing 35 minutes and 3 seconds. So do they get 35 minutes plus?
There's a difference between the finish line, don't forget, and the start line by about 5 seconds. They finished the lap, and then they started the lap 3 seconds afterwards. That's the reason why.
that is, yeah, as I said before, the start and the finish lines, wow. Not many circuits you get that, and Ellis Stevens now is definitely out of fuel. We see him slowing down, and very unfortunate there for Ellis. It very nearly worked out for him.
Coletti.
Yeah, Sutton versus Coletti there, and Sutton's got ahead of Miles Coletti, so Ashley Sutton up to 5th place, and there's a car there in the gravel. I wonder if he brought his bucket and spade. That was Paul Smith, so Paul Smith off the track there and back on, but Ellis Stevens falling even further down on this final lap. It looks like Michael Hall is going to take this victory.
Well, and you know what? He's not going to take this victory. He's going to dominate here in race number 2. The checker flag will be out this time by. The gap between Paul Smith and David Baker is 4.2 seconds. They work themselves now on the exit of the Variante Ascari down towards Curva Parabolica. Ladies and gentlemen, what a race we have had for you here today. What a racing event we've had for you here today in Champions of the Futures World Touring Car Championship through the Parabolica for the final time.
Miles is slowing down.
Michael Hall. There we can see Miles Coletti. He's running out of fuel as well. He's struggling. He's going to fall well down the path. But Michael Hall will claim victory here at Monza in race number 2. It's going to be CQR winning in race number 2 here. It's going to be a double duty for Michael Hall. He gets himself back to back. Miles Coletti, will he make it past the stripe? Well, the answer to that question, kind of there, Dan.
Yeah, also on that final Parabolica turn, Pete Newman, Magic Sakowicz coming together. So Sakowicz in 6th, Pete Newman down to 8th. Can have another look at that now, but a bit of drama to end this race. A bit further down, it looked like Sakowicz took the inside line. Pete Newman tried to cover it off a little bit too late, though the two made contact, and Pete Newman was the victim there.
Well, we're getting ourselves a look at that one right now. This is on the exit of the Variante Ascari, working themselves down towards that fabled Curva Parabolica for what is the final time in our race meeting here. They can see car to your right hand side. That is Magic in, that's actually the number 3 machine there, Ben Palmer. But down in towards that final corner, you can see being turned from the rear is that number 58 car of Pete Newman by Magic Sajewicz. And well, we do like a little bit of drama here and there, don't we, Dan?
I feel really sorry for Ellis. He's ended up literally about 5 foot from the finish line.
Yeah, you know what? We're going to show you Ellis Stevens if we can. There we can see him. There, ladies and gentlemen, is Ellis Stevens. He lost out on strategy here by literally about that much earlier on. And now Stevens classified as the last driver on the lead lap. What a shame for him here today. But here are your final race results. Hall wins then by 4 seconds from David Baker, Laidler in 3rd, Sutton 4th, Palmer in 5th. Then Magic Sajewicz in P number 6, Miles Coletti, Pete Newman, Stephen Burke and Paul Smith rounding out your top 10. Then it's Matthew Bunn, then Jake Blackhall, Alex Bristow, Keith Hamilton, Ellis Stevens and Robert Fagg. You notice that Stevens is provisionally classified as P15. We'll get the official result on that one as soon as we can. But in the interim, it's time for us to step aside. Post-race interviews coming up after this.
It's been a very long off-season. Teams have changed, sponsors have changed, colors and all, but one thing that hasn't, they like to mash the loud pedal. Green flag is out on the 2015 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series season.
iRacing is the ideal platform for these broadcasts because we have the best racers, the best online racers in the world, and we have such a variety of racing from NASCAR to Grand Prix style racing, sports car endurance racing. We do it all.
Since 2010, the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series has been the absolute pinnacle of road racing in a simulated form. Great start then by Yakoda from the front. They're packing up behind number 1. They're going to be 4 wide as they come down into turn number 1 for the first time. Will they make it through that first corner? You can see them funneling through the center S's. It looks as though everyone is just about made it through. We have got ourselves some contact though, Rachel.
Side by side going into turns 3 and 4. Humpy's got the advantage, but Ottinger's not going to.
Oh, he got into him!
Ottinger gets into the 58, turns right into him, and that ends Ottinger's run.
We do a lot of live broadcasts now. Every Tuesday is NASCAR night, so on alternating Tuesdays we do the Peak Antifreeze Series, and on the other Tuesdays the B-Class Series, which is the Xfinity cars, and sometimes we'll even do some short track racing depending on the schedule. Every other Saturday we do the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, so the best road racers we have. And we also broadcast some special events, including the Endurance Championship, which is part of the Road Warriors Series. So we broadcast the Daytona 24, the Sebring 12 Hour, we'll do the Watkins Glen 6 Hour, there's several other races along there. And then of course the iRacing Pro Racing Champions, which is usually our biggest and most watched event of the year.
That is short track racing, and that's how awesome this sim is, Joe. That's something you see on TV on highlight reels, and we just saw it here, live.
We invite iRacers who are real-world racers, and they compete every December. Guys like Alex Gurney, Justin Wilson, Scott Speed, Ron Capps, the list goes on. Really some big-name drivers from all major forms of motorsport. It's really neat to see them get together and race together.
See Laughlin up top, down to the ball, gets turned! Laughlin gets turned! Caution is out Fowler at the front of the field!
The easiest place to find the broadcast is on our website, iracing.com/live. So you can find some of our races on fanschoice.tv as well. A nice place to find iRacing broadcasts. You can also find it at mrn.com and peakauto.com.
Simulated racing can be awesome, but it can also be kind of a free-for-all. Interestingly, auto racing faced the same problem in its earlier days. Whether it was on the back roads, the beaches, or the city streets, the racing was fun. But there was always a certain level of chaos and danger, until some folks came along and put some order to all of this. Stuff like official racetracks, regulations about weight and equipment, and enforcement of standards. That's what gave us high-speed excitement, fast-paced action, and photo finishes. That's when racing became racing. The guys over at iRacing.com have made the same transformation in the world of sim racing. Sure, they've got the most accurate tracks and realistic cars out there, but that's just the start. See, iRacing analyzes the performance and results of each driver in every race, so you can be sure you're always placed in races where the competition will be tight, and that those reckless drivers who ruin it for us all are kept in the pits. Not to mention that with over 45,000 active members already in their vast community, you can find races day and night, so you can always get in on the action. You can even join a league of your favorite series. And since updates are always automatic, you don't have to worry about software and can focus on the track. Zip up your fire suit and check.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to RaceSpotTV then for post-race coverage of this Champions of the Futures World Touring Car Championship from Monza. And there you can still see, sat at the start of finish line, Dan, the one and only Mr. Ellis Stevens.
It looks like he's so downhearted he's not even left the car. He's just sitting there watching the grass grow, I think.
Yeah, you know what? Ryan Hunter-Ray did the whole Ricky Bobby thing back in an NASCAR race. I'm surprised that Ellis didn't try and do it here today. But we've got a guy that's gone back-to-back, Dan. That's driver Michael Hall. Talk to him.
So Michael, 2 out of 2. A perfect night's racing for you. How'd that go for you?
Yeah, obviously I'm really pleased with that. I only had 1 lap practice before quali, nearly didn't make the race, so to win both races, obviously a bit of an incident in the first race and got a bit lucky in the second race as well, probably with a few incidents for other people, but I'll definitely take the double win.
And that also puts you in a very good position as far as the championship goes as well.
Yeah, still a couple of rounds left, never driven Phillip Island, so we'll see what happens there. Probably better do some practice for that one.
Second race, we saw you start right from the back, and it looked like it was the fuel strategy where you didn't take the tyres, which ultimately won you the race.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what to do. The tyres were gone before I even went into the pits, to be honest, so it was a bit of a struggle when I came out, and I was still fuel saving to get to the line. Miscalculated it like most people did by the look of it, but managed to get there just about.
So after the pits, I guess you're struggling a little bit with the tyres and the fuel saving, and almost having to, you weren't too far off actually having to do another lap, so you stayed out of that one. But as far as the next week goes, you're at Motegi. Is that a circuit you've been at before?
I've never raced that one either. Not on, not in this car. So we'll see what happens. To be honest, I don't really know. To be honest.
Anyone you'd like to thank today?
I have to thank Ash for
Careful what you say,
race in the wall and giving himself a penalty in the second race. So I think he threw both of them away. But well, with help from me from the first one. So yeah, I'll thank Ash for that double.
Thank you very much, Mike. You get the trophy. You get to slap the trophy girl on the ass. Well done.
Well, you know what? That's the first inappropriate comment all day. Robert Fag, how you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks.
Well, overall, your day. Let's talk about it, shall we? Because race number 2, it wasn't as good as you might ask it to be. Agreed?
Yeah, I was doing alright until I decided to try and use the pit lane, and then I had a brief fade moment that I had to slow down to that. So I tried to slow down too quickly, blew my engine, got a speeding penalty, and came last.
Let's talk about the technicalities of that, because it is very easy to do. Because these cars, unlike, you know, an Indy car, an HPD car, or even some of the, you know, the higher performance GT cars, they don't actually have one of those kind of like, if you shift me down too hard, I'm not going to actually shift down until you I'm actually wanting you to moments. You know what I mean there?
I do know what you mean, but no, it's my fault. I didn't practice. I didn't get much practice in it all until maybe an hour before the server started. So yeah, I went into the pits. I was just looking back actually, about 90 miles an hour into a 40. So yeah. That was stupid, and unfortunately Ash was following me, so that screwed up his pit lane entry, and he got a speeding penalty as well.
Well, when we go over to Japan, are you going to be saying konnichiwa to the tarmac, or konnichiwa no to the Japanese asphalt? Because it's one that people forget, that Japanese asphalt is very difficult to get the hang of.
Sorry, did you say is it Okayama next?
No, it's Motegi, apparently.
Oh, don't know. I'm not sure if I'll be here next week, but I don't know. We'll wait and see. I tend to do alright at Okayama. If I can carry the same good luck from there onto Montague, then it'll be all good.
Well, thank you very much for having a chat with us. We've also got Jake Blackall here. Not a sort of early morning wake up call you would have wanted here today, is it?
Nah, not really. It was sort of a mixed result. Well, car was there in initial practice, and then it just didn't deliver in quali, had no draft, so it sort of didn't help that, but we tried.
How frustrating is this racetrack to get momentum up, knowing the fact that it is a bit of a draft fest and you have got to kind of be there fighting, or you're going to start falling back every single corner of every single lap?
Yeah, it sucks because that's the thing. If you don't have a draft here, you're sort of not going to have the pace. You know, it sort of needed the draft non-stop. But the Evolution Racing Australia Kia was quick. It was just without the draft, it sort of kills you when everyone else is in a massive pack. It puts you a bit behind.
We'll take you next week. You going to set your alarm?
Yes, alarm will be set.
Hey, well, we'll see you at
5 were set this morning.
We'll set. You know what? I do that every morning when I wake up for work. We'll see you at Motegi in a week's time.
Yep.
Dan is stood by with Bertie's Bandits.
Yeah, I'm here with Ben Palmer. Ben, this time, a better result for you, 5th place. How do you feel that went for you?
You know what? I don't think he can hear us, so I think we might need to do this. There we are. Ben Palmer, Alex Bristow, Dan Blake is going to really ask you that same question once again. He can't actually ask you that question right now because he doesn't realise he needs to move his but nope. Yeah, I'll ask you that question then instead. Ben Palmer, Alex Bristow, how were Bertie's Bandits here today? Nope, they don't want to talk to me. It is as simple as that. Dan. If we can't talk to Bertie's Bandits, we have to talk to Holy Balls and Tiger Woods.
Okay, we'll see who's about there. We have some Holy Balls and Tigers Woods, I see, so let's go down and have a chat to them.
Oh, wait.
The Holy Balls and Tiger Woods. Start with Russell Laidler. After not such a good first race, you get yourself a 3rd place in race 2. How was that one for you?
I was quite happy to come away with a podium in the third race. I should have been higher up the grid in the first race. It's mainly my own fault. I just didn't have any pace. But yeah, things seem to fall into play. I got really lucky with the pit strategy. I think I jumped about 3 or 4 cars by short fueling. So yeah, that worked out quite well.
Yeah, and so I had enough to finish like some of the others, and a third place finish you saw at the end of the race one. You were sort of the unfortunate victim in an incident between Pete Newman and Dave Baker, which unfortunately dropped you from what would have been the similar position in that one.
Well, it got me disqualified from that race, unfortunately, but that's just how things roll. Can't be helped.
No, those things happen in racing sometimes, but on a positive note, you're actually third in the championship at the moment with 705 points, just 45 behind Michael Hall, and you're 15 points behind Ash Sutton, so still all to play for with Motegi and Phillip Island to come.
Oh, definitely, and I think it's time to stop playing nice and do what the other ones do and drive with the blinkers on.
Yeah, I saw yourself and Mr. Sutton have a few little love taps here and there as well today.
Yeah, the first race couldn't be helped. Not the first race, the second race at the start. Steve Burke was serving a slowdowns penalty in a bit of a retarded place, really. Considering there was a pack of cars coming towards him. I then had Rob Fagg on my inside and Jake. Both of them were drifting out. I had nowhere to go. I had to tap the brakes, but because Sutton was pushing me, he didn't see what was going on into the back of me. That was my axle. Amazingly, that bent my axle. Yeah, I got off really lucky with that. The safety car and constantly talking to the rest of my team. Trying to work out fuel. Literally, we were updating it lap by lap by lap. And I took a gamble and took short fuel. To be fair, I should have stuck to my guns and took what I originally wanted to do and just take 1 gallon, because that would have been enough. And it probably might have been enough to jump Baker, but hey, third place is still a good point.
So next we go to the land of the rising sun. Motegi, is that a circuit which you're looking forward to visiting?
On former platforms, it's a circuit that I used to love. That's a special place for me, but on iRacing it could be a complete different kettle of fish, like Sonoma IRL. Oh, I loved that track. And then when we got onto a more realistic version, it was like, oh, hang on a minute, this is quite difficult. And but no, see what happens. Phillip Island's probably going to be my bogey track out of both of them, because I've never ever turned a lap around Phillip Island before. So this could be a really fun end of the championship. Ideally, I need to have Hall and Sutton to have at least one bad race to put me back into contention, because these two tracks that they're going to, these are the kind of tracks that Hall and Sutton really strive at. Got that extra half a second on me that I can't match, but I don't, you don't get into second or third in the championship by being fast all the time. I've had a nice consistent season, touch wood, and you never know, I might still have a shot at the title, but I'd be happy to be back in the top 3 after a dismal season last season.
So that's right, thank you very much, Rusty. That's Rusty Lader, third place in the second race, and he's hoping for some past glory to Motegi in a week.
Yeah, Paul Smith unfortunately has a poorly throat, so Paul, sum up your race in 5 words.
It was very, very rubbish.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, Paul Smith here. Not sure we'll see him in a week's time, P8 in race number 2. We have got Magic here as well, because it is a kind of magic as always. Well, Magic, what happened? Race number 2, P5.
Yeah, it was really exciting. Got my airballs out this time. Quite a lot of stuff happened. I don't know, maybe a bit too much touching and rubbing, but oh well, it's touring cars, what they're made for.
Hello. We have to Motegi in a week's time. Is that going to be a track where you can get yourself another top 5?
Unlikely. I never liked that track, and I've never driven it on iRacing, so it's anyone's guess what's going to happen there. And it's going to be even worse at Phillip Island, since I don't even know what the track looks like. I think it's in Australia. That's
Turn
the extent
right.
of my knowledge about it.
Turn left, turn right, turn left, turn left, turn right, turn left, turn left, turn right.
Hang on, was it right, left, right, left?
So it's left,
left.
sorry, I take that back, sorry. It's right, left, left, right, left, left, right, left, Left, right, left, left. Got it?
Nah, let's start with Indianapolis.
Yeah, there we are.
I think I can get that, but...
Turn right.
Nah. Oh, yeah?
Yeah, hello. Well, Liam Atkins is here, and we've also got David E. Baker as well. Baker, I'll come to you first. Good result, of course, in both today's races.
Yeah, not too bad. Missed up the piss strategy just a little bit. We saw Ash and Mike sort of up ahead of us drafting, and so pretty much game over from that point. We knew they were going to come out ahead of us, but yeah, 2 second places, I'll definitely take that.
Well, Teggy, 1 week's time. Track you good at?
Yeah, like Rusty, I've always had a good results around that on other platforms, and really looking forward to doing it around here on iRacing as well.
Well, we'll see you in 1 week's time. We're going to talk to Liam Atkins, even though he wasn't in the race. Liam Atkins, hello.
Hello.
How was your race? Consistent is the answer.
Brilliant.
Yes, brilliant. We're going to see you in Motegi.
Hopefully.
And Liam Atkins, ladies and gentlemen.
It
Dan.
depends if iRacing dates.
Yeah, true story that. Dan, looking forward to next week?
Yeah, Motegi should be a different challenge on the East Circuit, so not no longer Grand Prix circuit, and I think that will prove as much challenges as the full circuit, of course. So Motegi always one of those venues where you can see a bit of drama. I'm not sure if we'll quite see the same levels of drama as we've seen today, that thrilling climax in race 1, but I'm pretty sure that we will see some great racing over in the land of the rising sun.
Well, we will see you, ladies and gentlemen, in 1 week's time here on RaceSpotTV. Don't forget, we are home of the world's biggest racing event, and that means you can catch us this coming Saturday for the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. It lives here on RaceSpotTV. The next round of the championship sees drivers head to racing all began. The first ever round of the Formula 1 World Championship was on May 13th, 1950 at Silverstone, and we're going to have of that for the 5th annual time. We head ourselves to Silverstone for the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series this Saturday, the 20th of June, at 1:30 PM GMT. And then, for a little bit more fun, we're going to head ourselves to Watkins Glen on the 11th of July, and that will be for the inaugural iRacing.com 6 Hours of the Glen. You can catch that here on RaceSpotTV and also on iRacing Live on the 11th of July from 1 PM GMT. But in the interim, that guy over there has been Dan Blake. This has been the Champions of the Futures World Touring Car Championship, a RaceSpotTV presentation. V8 come your way on Champions of the Futures on Thursday. Until then, we shall talk to you next time. Bye bye.